This is the House of the Dead remake. We're here on Xbox Series X diving into this on-rails shooter experience, so be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here? Well, we are getting, looks like 1080p 60 FPS. You can play the game, well, by yourself, or you can do a cooperative local for 2. And this is the, well, it's the House of the Dead. It's a, it's a classic on-rails arcade-like shooter experience, and there are a few different ways that you can play it. So first off, there is, wow, I let both of those scientists die. That is not my sharpest shooting. First off, there is the regular campaign, which takes place across 4 different arcs that are present, or 4 different story tales. And each of these story tales has unique branching elements. That means, well, it's designed to essentially be replayed multiple times. So as you play it, you might end up going in a different direction. The overall story is the same either way, but there are different branching paths for things to take place and for you to go, right? Anyways, past that, there's also a horde mode. So the horde mode allows you to do, like, it's essentially, it takes this game, like, it's the exact same thing, it doesn't change anything, but there'll be like 3-4 times as many like creatures on the screen. So instead of like 2 zombies, there's like 8 or 10 zombies. It's honestly a little crazy. It is absolute mayhem. But this whole game is mayhem. It just goes. Now, with this being an arcade title, it's not terribly long. Like, it is, I think it's like, what, under an hour or something like that, I believe. I don't know, half an hour to an hour or something like that of length. But you do replay it multiple times, essentially to get, like, different achievements or to interact with things. You also have a few different ways to play the game. I have the modern sort of stats being counted here. You can do the classic stats as well. It does change up your gameplay, and there's different difficulty options too, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, it's just kind of these, if you've never seen an on-rails shooter, you're just kind of interacting with it, shooting different enemies that pop up, and then making your way and progressing forward. You're not directly, impacting anything. You're not, like, moving. You're shooting things. It's like it's where the term, shooting gallery kind of is for gaming. That's what you're doing, is you're just firing away, taking out enemies, and trying to progress as far as you can without running out of basically credits and whatnot. Because you get so many credits to use, and depending on your difficulty, that impacts things too. But yeah, depending on your credit allotment, you may have to dip into your points that you're scoring in order to keep progressing. You can actually fail, as odd as that may sound, but yeah, it does have like fairly decently detailed world areas. Like, some of the textures though are really weirdly, like, some are high quality, others a little lower res, which is a bit weird. And just keep in mind, it definitely is, like, it's something of its era, right? Like, either you're gonna like this type of game or you're really not gonna like this type of game. I do find it to be really fun and fast-paced, and it's got that style to it, but it's like, you play through it a few times, it's like, what else you do in it with it, right? Like, I did the horde mode, it's the same as the regular game, it just has more creatures. But it is really, I do recommend trying the horde mode, because it is insanity having to deal with all those creatures on the screen. I was like, whoa, nuts, wildness. But yeah, this one, it's really going to be, your mileage is going to vary based on, like, hey, are you going for, like, a nostalgia? Do you want to relive, functionality of the arcade if you played this back in the day? It's cool, like, it's a neat experience. I think it's kind of fun. I had a good time sitting here playing through it. I was like, oh, everything is just like you are rushing through this, right? Like, you are just a guy on a mission. There's 2 different characters, too, that you can pick between, depending on the mode. And then it's just like, you're just kind of rolling along here, shooting zombies and werewolves, and there's bosses to battle, and giant messed up things, too. Ow. Like, there is a lot to this game. Like, so many different weird things. But that really is kind of all there is to say about it. You know, there is a wide range of different enemies you face off against. There are situations where you can save scientists, you can go on these different paths. You can come across so many different monsters. There's even like a monsterpedia in the menu. You could be like, oh, I've seen, you know, all of these things and slain all of this stuff, and that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, it's just a very cinematic, preset type of world. We don't really get games like this these days. Every now and then you see someone that kind of, like an indie group, tries to go for that approach, but I don't know if it really has been something that's translated successfully into the modern era, but it makes sense. It's kind of like, you know, basically a movie, but with the interactive elements of you actively shooting things, which is kind of neat, but pretty light going. It is actually pretty violent, though, you know, in terms of, like, you know, the ways the different enemies kind of just, like, crumble and die, and, you know, that to me is kind of wild and whatnot, and you get all these cinematic segments. The voice acting leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest. I was kind of like, oh, okay. But I mean, you know, it's an upgraded version of an older game. You kind of, again, you get what you get for this one. It's either going to be like, oh, cool, or, eh. It's like I said, it's not too long, you know, I finished it, I'm sitting here even doing this, and I'm like, I've already done this a few times through. It's really not too, like, thrilling. It's slight variations, like, really, really slight. Like, oh, you might go this way, oh, you might go this way this time. And it's just like that is really all that changes between it, you know? The end plot setup is all the same, and, well, you know, I guess there's, like, some ending scenario things, but it's just like, you know, the pathing and stuff, it doesn't feel like it's really all that much different between it. I don't, like, I think this might be a strange thing to notice, but I do find that the vibration, not right now, but during regular play, seems to be, like, on and off if it's perfectly, like, kind of hitting stuff, if that makes sense. I don't know, I usually don't notice that kind of thing, but this one, it was kind of, like, really bothering me for some reason. Anyways, you know, look at this grotesque thing, you gotta shoot off all the bits of it and stuff. It's kind of annoying. I find if you spam RT and RB, or NB, it kind of just keeps you allowing you to do, like, infinite reload shoot things with the gun. All the console stuff, which is kind of nice, so that might be an advantage for you. Not Sophie. That's a chapter done. See, it's not even that long. It was like under 10 minutes to do this chapter. And then the loading is pretty good, but it does take a second or so to actually get loaded. Yeah. Ooh, Action Man. And I guess there's like different areas thematically that you go in. Whoa, that was a good hit. But you know, there's like a kind of castle spot, more of a laboratory spot. I wonder if there's actually, is there like another, oh, okay, yeah, neat. Never know what you're gonna get. These guys were definitely inspired by Freddy, I would say, right? This is like a diverging path. Usually I shoot out the bottom door and I don't really go this way, so... And this is definitely different for me. That's what I'm saying, though, is like, there is that element of, hey, new spots. Oh, these ugly things. And you do find yourself in really weird places, monsters-wise. And they can hit you pretty good, too. You are dead. But UI, pretty old school. Like I said, I would suggest playing Classic. Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. I would suggest playing Classic, and the modern ones, there's also different achievements for the different... Well, it's not control scheme, I guess, but like... The HUD overlay, that's the big difference between them. So I would suggest giving both of those a whirl. So now I'm down here. Oh yeah, I remember getting to this spot. So that's the branching dynamics of it. It kind of like tries to get you different spots over and over again. It all seems to run well. I didn't notice really any issues. Just handles decently. This is one of those ones where it's like I really don't have a whole lot more to say. I mean, it's really straightforward. It's not a whole lot of content. If you get your value out of it, it's gonna vary person on person. It's a neat, thrilling, fast-paced experience, though. Music is nice. Game looks good for its time, for its era. Some visuals, could they have pushed it more on the consoles? Yeah, definitely. But neat kind of experience, and that is the House of the Dead right there.